Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything, and it is a spooky movie week here on the channel in honor of Halloween. This week is Halloween, so happy Halloween everybody. And we're going to be drawing another one of 7 movie posters for a Halloween themed movie. And as I explained before, I am not doing a greatest of list or anything like that. These are just 7 Halloween themed or scary themed kind of movies that are important to me. And yeah, this is definitely not like a best of list. When you figure out which one I'm doing today, this is going to be Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. So this movie, you will not see this on anybody's greatest of lists or anything like that. It is not a good movie, but it ties into a lot of themes that I kind of like talking about on this channel, right? As far as like the commercialization of these films, when things start to really run out of ideas, they always put the character in an an unfamiliar scene. Right? So in this case, the Jason movies, they always take place on what is it, Camp Crystal Lake, right? Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake. Every movie is the same, right? These are not cinematic masterpieces. Every movie, bunch of teens end up at this camp and they get killed by this guy, Jason, who his origin story, basically he drowned as a kid, and everybody made fun of him and whatnot, and he couldn't swim, so the kids are all laughing at him as he's drowning. Pretty sick stuff, huh? And he dies, and then when he comes back as an evil supernatural force, he takes revenge on all the kids that tormented him when he was alive. 'Cause, yeah, I guess he was a bit of an outcast. And I have a special connection to these Friday the 13th movies because this is kind of before DVDs and on-demand stuff got big. I remember being a kid and just watching whatever was on TV, right? So you were limited to whatever the TV showed you. And every Friday the 13th, one of the change this a little bit here. One of the networks, I believe it was usually like, I want to say it was the USA Network, and I'm sure it probably changed a few times, but they would have Friday the 13th marathons, right? So they would always play. They would start at like, I don't know, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So, we'd have sleepovers and order pizza and just watch Friday the 13th. So it's always a good memory getting spooked out by those old Jason movies. And the thing about that is, because you're limited to what they show, right? All this stuff was on television. They probably only had the rights to show certain movies, right? And this one was the 8th in the series. I swear to God, I've probably seen this more than like any other movie in that franchise. For whatever reason, this was always the one that they played, Jason Takes Manhattan. And even as a kid, I thought it was definitely more kind of cheesy than scary, but I still appreciate it for what it is. It's just one of those movies that just kind of takes you back. And yeah, I remember, I think there's probably still some of these movies that I've never seen to this day, just because the ones that they played, they always played the same ones, right? I remember it was like, it was the longest time before I ever saw the first one, right? Because you didn't know what they were playing either, unless you had like TV Guide or something, but we didn't get any of that crap when we were a kid. We just watched what was on. And yeah, so you'd be kind of surprised, just kind of watching the beginning or whatever, that was kind of how you figured out which one they were playing, right? So we didn't really know ahead of time. Then the end credits, right, for the movie, they would say like coming up next, part 8 or whatever, right? So if you saw the same one, a million times, maybe that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I remember kind of getting really excited when they would actually show one that like I'd never seen before. Because yeah, you get sick of seeing the same one a million times. And Jason Takes Manhattan, I definitely saw that they played the hell out of that movie. They played that so many freaking times. I'm pretty sure at one point I probably had this movie memorized just because it was on so much. But yeah, so about the movie, right? Again, I'm running out of ideas here. This is the 8th. This is kind of, I guess it's sort of like one of the last in like the original sort of series. The original series was Paramount Pictures, and I think this was the last one before it goes to, I believe, New Line. And this came out in 1989, right? So if it came out in the theaters in 89, back then, took a year or so, not a year, maybe like 8 months or so before something came out on VHS and to rent. And then it was usually about 2 years or so before something would just be on free TV. Well, not free TV, but cable. So yeah, this would have been on cable quite a bit in the early 90s. And I think just due to the cheesiness factor, this movie does have a bit of a cult following. So yeah, Jason, he dies at the end of the. Again, every movie's the same, right? So he kills everybody, but there's one kid who's there's just something special about him. They just got something that none of the other kids have, and they can survive the onslaught and somehow figure out a way to get rid of this monster. So Jason dies at the end of the 7th one. I can't remember which one the 7th one was, but again, they're all the same. And then at the bottom of the lake, right where he dies, like the was it like the waste management guys, like sanitation people or whatever, they come and pick him up, right? Or they're picking up some kind of like garbage from the camp or from the bottom of the lake, and then it goes on a ferry, right, into down the Hudson, down into New York City, into Manhattan. And then somehow, like, Jason, I think he started killing a couple people on like the ferry or whatever that he's on before he just gets off into Manhattan proper. And yeah, there's a rock star that he kills on that ferry named J.J. Jarrett. That's interesting. Double J and Jarrett. That was a couple years before that was a thing. But I thought that was funny going back and watching it. Yeah, he then he kind of meets, runs into this group, and same old song and dance just kind of starts picking them off one by one. One of the scenes that we always laughed at, and I don't think you're supposed to be really laughing like in these movies, but it was just so cheesy, is there's this dude who's a boxer, right? Or I think he was like a failed boxer, right? And he's looking for one last hurrah or something like that. And he gets the set, he gets the brass to challenge Jason to a boxing match. and Jason just like uppercuts his head off like immediately. This dude's like juking and jiving and then putting his dukes up and stuff. And he just gets smoked. And we always laughed at that scene as kids because it is pretty funny. And yeah, the atmosphere too in this movie. I always say this about 80s movies that portray New York City. Like every 80s movie, New York City is like hell on earth, right? You could get there's a pre-Giuliani New York. This is everybody is either a prostitute or on drugs. You can get killed at any given time the second you leave your house, right? And for whatever reason too, like there's always steam everywhere, right? Like this moody like steam coming out of the gutters, and like I know that's a thing, but like they overdo it so much in all these 80s movies. Like you can almost tell, right? Like without even knowing anything about a movie, if you see all that steam stuff in your cities coming out of the manhole covers, right? Think like Ninja Turtles, right? That was a big thing in that too. Then you're watching an 80s movie, because they all do the same thing when it comes to New York. Yeah, so they get obviously, they're probably just having fun with the movie. Different scenery. You get the chance to do some different stuff with your leading man here, with Jason. New ways to maim people. I think there was one scene where I think he put like a drug dealer in like a trash compactor, or maybe I'm confusing that with Ninja Turtles too. I don't know. All this 80s stuff blurs together after a while. The original poster here, I actually like this one. He's tearing into the I Love New York trademark sort of logo that was popularized for New York City tourism. It got them into trouble. They had to actually remove this, and they kind of went with like just a more generic poster. But we'll do this one. I like this one. Yeah, the other one just kind of got them like a superimposed picture of like his head over this steamy Manhattan city. And a lot of this movie, of course, because it's Hollywood, it's not actually filmed in Manhattan. So there's a little bit that's done in Los Angeles, I guess, and then most of it in Vancouver, right? So you'll actually see a lot of stuff is filmed in Vancouver. They do get a lot of like tax breaks and stuff like that for filming there. So it's kind of attractive for investment. They kind of do that to bring in all that outside money to the local economy. You see the same thing now with like Georgia, right? Like whenever you watch something that says filmed in Georgia, it's because they're trying to get stuff hopping there with their film scene. And yeah, with New York City, to film there, shutting stuff down, for a couple days or whatever, it's like logistically that's like friggin' impossible. So plus they tax the hell out of you in New York. And yes, I am a New Yorker, so I know that. Okay. Yeah, so in this movie, like eventually when they kill Jason, like the star of this one, it's like what is it? It's like some girl who's she's like petrified by water or something, so she's afraid to go on this like trip to New York City. And I think she like overcomes her fear by like killing Jason or something, and I forget exactly how it goes, but he gets flooded with like toxic waste. So like the end scene, you got like I forget, there's like some public servant or like sanitation guy or something like that talking about like flooding the sewers or something with toxic waste, and that's eventually how they kill Jason. He melts his little hockey mask there off, and everyone lives happily ever after, until the next one. So yeah, that's Jason Takes Manhattan, and again, you're not going to see it on any Siskel and Ebert lists or anything like that. It's not a great movie, but I had to include it because it is part of my childhood, part of my early scary movie memories. Always getting excited to watch these every year. So let's see here. I'm just going to draw a little title on the bottom. So we'll just say Jason Takes Manhattan. Remember, you could always rent these too, at your local video stores and stuff. And I remember going to those too, right? You'd always go into the video store. You'd see the one that you wanted to get, right? And you get all excited, and then you go up to it and see that that little plastic case isn't there, right? They just had the little box up front, so that means somebody else rented it, and you'd have to make a different decision that night. So I remember always, most of them, like the Friday the 13th I'd want to see, like, were never around, and they only had the ones that I saw, a million times on TV, because, living in the same market as everybody else in that area, they probably saw the same stuff I did on television and wanted to get the different ones. So, yeah, we'll just kind of finish this up with just some outlines here. We got Jason sort of tearing through. And I remember the first Friday the 13th, they never really played that one too much either. So the first time I saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't realize that Jason, right, he isn't even in this one, right? It's his mom that's killing all the unsuspecting campers there. So Jason actually doesn't appear in this, in this kind of form until the second movie. And of course, got that iconic hockey mask. We're just going to hit that with some grays. Sort of make that stand out a little bit more here. And of course, he's got like that red kind of blood and sort of blue mood lighting on him. We'll just wash that with a little bit of gray here. And let's see, it's got a little bit more sort of underneath where that lip goes around, sort of his mouth there, curves around. Make that a little bit darker. Alright, so we'll just hit some shadows underneath these folding, crumbled up sort of pieces of paper or a poster or whatever that he's ripping through. Alright, and then just don't forget, gotta get the shadow of his knife. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll finish this one up. Jason Takes Manhattan. Not a great movie, but I didn't say that we were doing all great movies, right? We got some all-time classics on here, and for this one, we got our schlock, our B-movie schlock, our 80s slashers, so we kind of cover that all in one shot here, two birds with one stone, kind of going over all the categories, right? Crazy psychological thrillers, slashers, violent films, all-time classics, monster movies, a little bit of everything for Halloween. And that's the beauty of Halloween, right? You can celebrate it however you want to with your movie choices, right? Just keep them spooky. And then let me just hold on, right? This one, I think I'm done. They pull me back in. Just got to get a little more highlight on that, and then let's hit that with a little bit more gray. Represent kind of the edge of that mask there. Alright. Then we'll just shadow in where that tear goes. Alright. So that's I'm just seeing one more thing here. Let me just forgot I gotta just and a couple little shadows onto the heart, the I Heart New York, I Heart Scary Movies. Alright. So yeah, a little bit of everything here on James Draws Everything, spooky movie, Halloween movie week. So let me know what you think. Do you have memories of just being a slave to whatever the TV gave you, and just kind of watching movies that way before you could watch just whatever you want like you can today? That's why I included this one, because due to all those Friday the 13th movie marathons that we had, our parties, our sleepovers and stuff for as kids, definitely saw this one more than any other movie, and that's why it's here. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the next video.